Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cold Front Report post-game show. I'm your host, Clayton Garrett. Joining me, as usual, are my partners in crime. First and foremost, Jeremy Turner Montgomery. Jeremy, tough game tonight. How you doing?
We'll make it through. We've been through worse in Bills Mafia. We've been through worse, and we've had our share. But we're gonna tap in. We're gonna talk about tonight. So let's get to
100%.
it.
We got a lot to unpack. Travis Blakesley, how you doing, man?
Yeah, disappointed, but we got one hell of a quarterback. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, the Bills do have one hell of a quarterback back there. It was a duel tonight, man. It was a tough game. We were talking behind the scenes before we hit live, and the one thing I said is that you're not going to lose many games the way the Bills lost this game tonight, and it was epic. It was a classic showdown, a game that a lot of people are going to talk about for a long time. Jeremy, what are the first things on your mind here in the post-game show?
Obviously, we all have a bad taste in our mouth right now, and I don't think that's an understatement. I just trying to process the fact that we did lose this game with 13 seconds left, and it's the rash of emotions up and down, the just lost feeling you have right now. I think that's the thoughts of the mind, and I think the second part is you're trying not to find someone to blame. It is easy to do. It's easy to point the finger at Leslie Frazier. It's easy to point the blame at, maybe Tremaine Edmonds or Mario Adams or the pass rusher, Sean McDermott. But I'm just not going to do it. So it's honestly just processing this right now. I think that's just about it. Is processing this.
Yeah, I'm about the same point. Travis, how are you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's disappointed. Some people are angry. I'm just a little numb. You go through the emotions once, you convert on a handful of fourth downs, you score the touchdown on that big play Davis, he's had so many. And then the Chiefs come right back, and I had no doubt that we were going to march down that field. You got 3 timeouts, a minute left. No doubt in my mind that we were marching down and scoring another touchdown. But like you mentioned, it's insane in a league where 13 seconds is just a couple too many. And I'm very certain that the coaching staff, they learned a hard lesson. I think you talk about the Cardinals game, that's a tough one. As great as Sean McDermott is, he still isn't as experienced as someone like Andy Reid. And I can bet you they'll draw it up a little different when we're talking end of the game versus, one of the league's best offense. But, somebody had to lose, and, we unfortunately were on the wrong side of it. But like I said, if you have a guy who really played near perfect in the playoffs in his 2 games, you got a lot to look forward to. But, it sucks saying that every year. But let's break it down, I guess.
Yeah, it's not every year. There used to be not a lot to look forward to for the Bills. It used to be a completely different song and dance, and we're long past searching for quarterbacks at this point. But it wasn't the case. But for this game, a lot of people in the comments, and you were alluding to it towards the end of your point, Travis. They're talking about really kind of the strategy there with the last 13 seconds, whether they should have sky kicked it, squib kicked it. There may be. I don't really know how I feel about this. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think at that point you're playing for. We have a kicker in Tyler Bass who will kick the ball at the end zone, and I do get it. If you sky kick it, if you squib kick it, first of all, I wouldn't squib kick it because you're talking about giving them the ball possibly around the 50-yard line with the squib if they catch the ball early and move it up the field. But as far as a sky kick, yeah, that's questionable. You possibly could, but end of the day, our special team unit has been good in this entire season. But you're putting your faith in backup players, and I'm just being honest about that. They almost broke 2 punt returns in this game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put my faith in Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer in the number 1 defense in the league. And I know they didn't look much like a number 1 defense tonight, but I'm going to put my faith in them to stop them in 13 seconds from driving on the field faster than I will some of these backups that we may not even be able to name. It may not even be on a roster after today. Some of these guys on that special team unit may have played their last game in the NFL. I'm putting my faith in the 2 All-Pros we have back there. So it's so easy to go back and say we should have, could have, would have, we should have done that, we should have done this. But 13 seconds, you're talking about stopping a team from possibly going 50 to 60 yards in 13 seconds. Possibly 2 plays, maybe 3 at best. Nah, I'm just going to kick out the back of the end zone. I'm going to make them prove it. And unfortunately, they did that, and they forced this game to overtime. So, I mean, hats off to Kansas City on that. And yeah, it's it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of second guessing, and we're going to be thinking about this for the next couple months, what we should have done.
Oh yeah, 100%. And everybody in that locker room and front office. I mean, it was a tough loss, and those last 13 seconds. I don't know. I tend to agree. There's a lot of what you could have done or what should have they done. I think they made the right decision there. You know, that's the number one defense on that was going to take the field with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, like we were alluding to. The front wasn't really there tonight. We'll get into the defense. Actually, let's get into how the defense performed tonight, because fans are upset. They're pissed off in the comments. They're ready to put Leslie Frazier's head on the chopping block, which I think is far too hyperbolic. But Travis, what were really your thoughts on the defense? Do you think the front end took care of their job? Do you think the back end was all right? Do you think they played in unison like they have in weeks past, or do you think it was just an overall struggle with such an overwhelming offense?
Well, it's hard to really break down their performance, especially at first glance. I mean, they're going against the most explosive offense in the league easily, and people are talking about Levi Wallace covering Tyreek Hill. I mean, just say that twice back. Levi Wallace covering anyone covering Hill. It's just they're going to get their catches. They're going to score their points. I mean, I think they did the best they could. Tackling was decent. There were some plays where we kind of had them hemmed up, whether it was Mahomes or Hill or Hardman. But, at the end of the day, I just think that, like Jeremy said, they were able to be in a position to really end the game. You got the number one defense. I don't think it was a fluke. I don't think you put many other teams out there and you get a different outcome. So at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. And it was pretty obvious whoever had the ball last with a reasonable amount of time. And I guess 13 seconds is that amount of time. And then when it comes to overtime, I mean, you're gassed. So could they have played better? Could they have shown up more? Yeah. Could it have been different if Trey White was out there? Of course. But, you got to deal with the injuries, and it's going to be another off season, but like Jeremy alluded to, you get number one defense, you got a defensive minded coaches, and you put your faith in them, and they were unfortunately not able to get it done.
Yeah, and Jeremy, Cody Wells here in the comments highlights a point that you had brought up, that we had really felt Trey's absence in this game for the first time since his injury. And, that's something you were bringing up behind the scenes. Could you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I mean, at some point when Trey White went down in New Orleans, we knew that we were going to feel his absence, right? And I mean, like I said, I'm on the Levi Wallace train. I love the way Levi has stepped up in his absence, and Dane Jackson as well. And mine maybe too, the schedule will help possibly a little bit too, with playing New England twice in McCorkle, and a couple of teams that we played down the stretch that were not as strong as the teams that we played in the first half of the season. But I think tonight was the game that we knew we were going to meet. We were going to meet with this team at some point, and we didn't know how we were going to fare without Trey White. And this is why having a number one corner and an elite corner, and I'm going to call him elite, even if everybody doesn't agree to that, I'm going to call him elite corner. And this is why having one helps you out so much, especially in situations like that. 13 yards, 14-yard plays, clutch situations are plays that we have been able to rely on Trey White over the past 3 years, 3 to 4, actually, because he stepped in Buffalo to come up with big plays, to come up with big stops, to come up with big forced fumbles, big interceptions. And tonight we were missing that. It was bend but don't break. And Kansas City had way too many weapons for us to be without him. And I think that showed. And this was the first game, I think, all season as far as our defense, or maybe the second game, that our defense really looked like we couldn't stop them. And we knew whoever got the ball first in overtime, it was over. So I think that's, I think tonight we felt the absence of Trey White, and thank God we have him, and he'll come back next year.
Yeah, hopefully he has a fast and speedy recovery, and he comes back full force for next season's defense. really, I wasn't really pleased with with how the front played tonight. I thought the defensive front for the Bills, they started the game violent. They started the game with the tenacity that we had seen them play with for the last handful of weeks, especially last week against New England. We saw the defense that we had known for the first couple of series in this game, but then as the game wore on, and that front was chasing Mahomes around for seconds at a time. The back end was doing its job at some certain points in times and leaving the front to chase down the quarterback, and they couldn't get it done. And that's such a tough thing because we see it constantly with a player like Josh Allen as to how tough it is to bring some of these guys down in the pocket, specifically him and Mahomes. Those two are probably the most unique when it comes to making plays in the pocket and getting away from pressure. And tonight it just wore out that front. And as soon as the front was wore down, it felt like they could do whatever they wanted to between the tackles. It felt like they could run the ball down their throat if they really wanted to. Players like Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming off the bench with 4 carries for 50 yards, stuff like that. Those plays that get lost in this game, that's really where the Bills defense was unopportunistic. And that's really where they could have made plays and they could have made tackles and they could have, really kind of, but that's the game you play, right? The ball bounces certain ways, but certain players make plays and other players don't. Travis, what were your thoughts on really how this defensive end rotation was affecting the Bills pass rush tonight? And if you thought it could have been managed any better way?
I thought a lot of times they were winning their matchups. It's just unfortunately they were losing contain. And if we weren't losing contain, then we weren't wrapping up. And that's been really the story of the season. I mean, there's so many would-be sacks where the quarterback gets out, makes a play. We even saw it last week where somebody who's not fleet-footed like McCorkle is out there running down the sideline. And, it wasn't the first thing that crossed my mind when breaking down this matchup, but I think clearly that was the difference, was the elusiveness of Patrick Mahomes extending the play. He really did his best, Josh Allen. I thought Josh Allen really just willed himself into just stardom, and we'll get into him later, I'm sure. But I thought we were just a shoestring tackle away. We were down on his ankles, and there's a lot of times where our defenders were either running into the other offensive lineman trying to contain or running into each other. And it just seemed like the speed of our defensive linemen weren't able to continue to keep him in the pocket. And I think that was the biggest difference between the Week 5 matchup. We were able to contain Mahomes, and Mahomes was forced to sit in the pocket uncomfortably and deliver the ball. And more times than not, you saw him make an errant throw, which leads to a tip pass, which leads to a pick six, like we saw. We just didn't have that play. None of the balls really bounced our way. And I thought, like I said, the defensive front put decent pressure for most of the game. It just we couldn't really finish those pass rush.
Yeah, 2 sacks on the night, one from Ed Oliver early in the game and another from Taron Johnson on a scamper that he chased Mahomes out of bounds on. Really that defensive front, I don't know. Jeremy and I have talked back and forth in the chat and here and there about how frustrating it's been watching these 2 old defensive ends go out there and make the same mistakes continuously, play after play, whether it's the same teams, whether it's different teams. Every time the Bills have squared off with these Kansas City Chiefs and, you're defending Patrick Mahomes on the other sideline. And and as we're talking about, he's evasive and he can get out of the pocket and he can make these huge plays such in the same way as Josh Allen can. It is such a big deal to keep him in the pocket and to make a play for the pocket to be pushed along the interior. And players such as Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes just seem to drop the ball in that effort on containing their edges. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on the 2 veteran pass rushers?
The problem with our pass rush goes back to August. This is just a start. And if you guys want to check my receipts, you can check my receipts. Everybody wanted to be on the Jerry Hughes train. He's one of our greatest pass rushers ever. I was told that Jerry Hughes, getting rid of Jerry Hughes does not get you any closer than beating getting you any closer to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said that was a lie. We brought back Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison. I said that we should have got rid of Jerry Hughes last year when we were able to when we got a draft pick for him. I said in the offseason, Mario Addison was fine to stay because he was a mentor to these young guys. By about time we got to this game right here, Mario Addison was supposed to be inactive. You were supposed to have Rosu, Basham, and Epinesa ready to go for this game, and you didn't. You didn't have those guys ready. Two reasons you didn't have them ready. A, because you rotated them all season. B, you kept Basham inactive, and then you put him in a prime role now to say, hey, we need you. And 3, you put Mario Addison out there, who's already struggling this season with a bum shoulder and a sling on it pretty much. And we were going to depend on Jerry Hughes to come through. I've been saying for the last 3 years, Jerry Hughes has done nothing. I don't care what some PFF, garbage PFF pass rate, win rate grade does. It's garbage. Jerry Hughes has done nothing. And you wanted to give him a farewell tour? Well, here you go. We gave him a farewell tour. We gave him the proper send-off. But at the end of the day, this is a goddamn business. And the business decision we made came back to bite us in our ass tonight because he broke containment every single time. Every time Jerry was in the game and Mario was in the game at the same time, they gashed us for big yards every single time. For as much experience they have, old man Rivers could not get any sacks, neither one of them. And I'm sorry to be harsh about it, but it pisses me off because I said it back in August, and people want to disagree and disagree and disagree again. Well, you know what? We got to this point right here. And the guys that you brought in, Obata, who was inactive for half the season, wasn't ready to go. Basham was not ready to go. This is on the coaching staff, and this is on being too nice. At this point, in this point forward, Buffalo has to make better business decisions. And some of these decisions may be shrewd. They may not be nice, but this is the business that you're in. Some of these guys we need to bring in, like maybe we have to bring in a Randy Gregory who's crazy as all hell in the offseason. But you know, he knows how to get to the quarterback. So maybe we need to break our culture tendencies a little bit and break our business habits a little bit, because right now, that's one of the reasons we lost this game tonight. Simple as that.
Hey, baby, bringing back Jerry Hughes was the comfortable move, right? Isn't that something we've talked about countless times with this team? And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here and wallowing because this team's so far off and they won't be back and they don't have the pieces. No, they do. But, you know, like Jeremy said, there's plenty of reason to be pissed off. This team made it as far as they did. They had as good of a season as they did. And to be quite honest with you, the quarterback was on such a rip these last 2 weeks that I really would have loved to see what he would do if he got another game, let alone another 2. But in regards to the defensive ends and Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, you know, Jerry Hughes, you know, bringing him back, like I said, it was another comfort move. And we've seen this staff make moves like that before, like giving Star Lotulelei $10 million. It was one of the first moves they did when they came here, giving a kicker with a bad back an extended contract, and then he goes out and has the worst season of his career. Things like that to give these guys a little comfort or motivation to stay with Buffalo and make plays with this team and stay a part of the culture, if you will. But, you know, without a doubt, this pass rush is going to have to be addressed in the offseason. These two guys, 97 and 55, aren't going to be back next year. And to be quite honest, I really hope they aren't, because I don't know what they're adding that is so much more beneficial than having 96 and 57 out there. Because it's ludicrous to me. Because that first matchup when the Bills matched up with the Chiefs in Week 5, no, you weren't really expecting Rousseau to be the player that he was that fast. And, you know, I honestly was expecting A.J. Epinesa to get more snaps by that point in time, but I wasn't expecting Carlos Basham to be deactivated for a good portion of the season. You know, the pass rush was just really mishandled this year as far as those edge rooms. And, you know, we're really left with more questions than we are answers at this point when it comes to the Bills pass rushers with that trifecta that they have of the young guys. Travis, do you have anything to say in regards to the Bills pass rushers? Do you think Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison's days are done in Buffalo?
Well, if they're not, they definitely should be. I mean, how many times are you going to bring it up? You know, you're leaving your containment. You're allowing perfect, you know, throwing lanes. It's just been one game after another where you consistently see that. I can take the lumps with a young guy, you know, the inexperience of a Greg Rousseau, even Basham. I mean, there was a play where you saw Basham completely go for a pass rush, but it was a run, and you know they just left a gaping hole. I can take that with the young guys, but you know, how many times are we going to see it? And I was always kind of on the fence with Jerry Hughes. I didn't think it really made sense. If you're going to invest in these young guys, a lot of capital, I think that affords you the the opportunity to get rid of a guy like Jerry Hughes, especially when it's beneficial to your cap situation. But again, we saw this, we've seen this a couple times, specifically with the defensive end position, where you can kind of recoup some money, and they choose not to for, I don't know, this veteran leadership, what have you. And a guy like Jerry Hughes is not even their guy, so it just makes you wonder. He's the last guy to kind of survive this roster from the prior to Bean and McDermott. So they definitely, whatever they did, be it a step in the right direction. I guess they were doing it to match up against the Chiefs better, and it proved to not be successful. So it's back to the drawing boards, and once again, whether it's through the draft or free agency, I think you're going to see some moves. And I don't think going with the quantity is the option. I think they need a guy. I mean, Ed Oliver is the guy up in the middle, but I think they need a guy on the outside.
Well, one thing I disagree with, right? So you said that we matched up with we matched up with the Chiefs, and it was unsuccessful. So I'm gonna kind of disagree with that point. And the only reason I'm gonna disagree with was this, right? We went into their house in week 5 and we beat them. We came into Arrowhead again in this divisional round playoff game, and we were literally 13 seconds away from beating them. So I think matching up with them correctly was successful. But I think that the coaching decisions were unsuccessful. I think we got the right guys in Epinesa and Rosu and Basham, and now a oncoming Ed Oliver. Now, what we do need to do, we do need to get another defensive tackle. We need to get Ed Oliver his running mate now. Who's going to be his long-term running mate? Because it ain't Star Lotulelei. Like I said, June 2nd is Star Lotulelei Day. That's the day, and I will be jumping for joy because I definitely believe he will be released that day.
He played awful tonight for what it's worth.
He didn't play at all.
He played awful.
He might well not even showed up. Just like he hasn't shown up for the last 4 years or 3 years, however long he's been here. You got to find that Jeffrey Simmons to go along with Ed Oliver. Because, once again, Harrison Phillips played a well of a half of a season, and the end of a season, he played great. I think he has is it torn MCL he has? He's playing with something torn in his leg. But you still need an impact player next to Ed Oliver because of Ed's size. He does not have the size of a Jeffrey Simmons inside. You know what I mean? We matched up with the Chiefs, and I think that we can almost say we've pretty much beat them twice, it almost seems like. And we were 13 seconds from doing that tonight. But from your coaching decisions and your decisions from a general manager, you got to the point where your comfort messed you up. Neither Addison or Hughes should have been in this game. They did nothing to help you. And I think that's your biggest problem.
Yeah. I mean, the edges were really just detrimental tonight for the Bills defense. They really were. That offense is so difficult to defend for any team. And like a point that Travis made earlier in the show, if it were any other team out there trying to defend the Chiefs, I don't think the result looks much different. I don't think the Bills defense was a fluke best defense in the league. I think these guys are legit dudes, and they went out there and, the other team executed the same way. The Chiefs defense was looking really good these last 6 to 7 weeks, pretty much ever since the Bills went to Kansas City and beat them the last time. This defense really got their stuff together and have been playing different football. And the Bills went out there and did their thing just the same way on their side of the ball. So, the matter of fact is they have a really special quarterback back there, and as do the Bills. And, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to backyard football and containing these guys, that's really all you can hope to do is contain them, because this kind of stuff it was quite different to watch. But, execution needs to be better from the edges. And if they were tonight, we could be looking at a far more different defensive performance for the Bills. But it wasn't good enough. But by no means would I call this an embarrassing performance for the Bills defense. By no means would I call this Bills defense absolutely garbage or say they got whipped all over the field. It was one hell of a football game. And, I want to talk about how this Bills offense performed, because down the stretch, they looked really good. Josh Allen had the ice in his veins. This offense was executing. They were converting 4th and 13s. They were converting 4th downs. Josh Allen hit that zone, and there was no getting him out of it, regardless of whoever hit him, regardless of whatever the result of the play before was. Josh Allen found his rhythm, he found his zone, and he was borderline unstoppable. Jeremy, what were your thoughts on what we saw from the Bills franchise quarterback tonight?
I think that's exactly what we saw. We saw a franchise quarterback. This is the performance that we wanted to see from Josh. This was the playoff run, and it's only 2 games that we wanted to see from Josh. I think we saw flashes the first year we went against the Texans, and it didn't end well. We said, "Oh man, we don't know what we have here yet." Then he blows it up the next season, but he kind of struggled, in my opinion, versus the Colts and the Ravens. And obviously, we know we imploded versus the Chiefs last year in the AFC Championship game. And we said, "Well, he took a step. We got to see where he is." Then this year, we had a little bit of adversity in offense. He stuck through it. He still had a phenomenal season. And if it wasn't for Mr. Choke Artist himself, Aaron Rodgers, and a loaded Bucs team with Tom Brady, he probably would be your NFL MVP. And then we saw an amazing 2 playoff games where we may be able to dispel the Sugar Rush Allen for a long, long time. And if you can, that's a problem. We want to know if Josh Allen can take you down the field and win you a playoff game in an away stadium. And tonight, he just about did that. You had 1 minute and 2 seconds left and 3 timeouts. And he took you down that damn field. And he had almost won you the game. And not only did he not only win your game, they took your number 1 receiver in Stephon Diggs completely out of this game. They took your running game completely out of this game. And what did he do? He found other ways to put up 36 points. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we paid for. And like James Mallory says, in a couple of years, that $43 million we're giving him per year is going to seem like such a bargain. Because I can tell you right now, on January 23rd, 2022, it's a bargain to me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely extraordinary things that we saw tonight from Josh Allen. Eric Aiken in the comments, 9 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the playoffs. He was absolutely ridiculous these last 2 games. Some of the best quarterbacking in a 2-game stretch that I think you could argue you've ever seen in Bills history. Travis, what were your thoughts on how the Bills quarterback performed tonight and how this Bills offense looked tonight?
Well, Allen was fantastic. It's going to be fun trying to see any angles from anybody else trying to discredit him
Nick Wright.
as an elite quarterback. You know, you talk about franchise quarterback. I take it a step further. I mean, he's one of 2, one of 3, and you know, you saw two of them on the field tonight. And you know, you put Aaron Rodgers or Brady, they're getting old. Their days are numbered. But he is clearly going to be the face of the NFL, along with, just like I said, a couple other guys. And, you know, I think Diggs ended up with like 7 yards on 3 catches, and to find other routes. Dawson Knox had a drop early on. He was kind of stifled throughout the entire game. And then, you know, they gave you the Gabe Davis, and, you know, he just kept delivering. And, you know, that last touchdown, I mean, who didn't see the skinny post coming? How many times have we seen that skinny post and it was just ran to perfection? And you just, when he's on, I've said it many times, when he's on, there is no stopping him. And the last 2 minutes of that game really proved it. And it's a shame that a performance like that, you know, you don't get a shot at redemption. And, you know, say what you will about the overtime rules, whatever. I'm not going to sit there and complain about that. You know, it's a shame that it goes down as a loss, but I don't think it's a fluke. And this is a guy who I think really is learning to elevate himself and kind of quiet everything around him. And when a day when you don't really have the running game working outside of Josh Allen, this is a guy who people mentioned, you know, he's going to have to put the team on his back, and I don't know how many times he can do it. Well, I think he's going to be able to do it game in and game out. And yes, there are going to be games where he's not playing this to this level, but he's always going to give you a chance. And you know, it's sad to see his season end the way it did, but like I said, I mean, he's 25 years old. You know, is he going to be running around like a madman for his entire career? Probably not, but he gets it, and he's going to evolve his game. And you know, it was great to see Gabriel Davis really have, I mean, an outstanding game. I mean, you're talking over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. Everyone was worried about him being a number 2 wide receiver, and with an aging slot receiver and Emmanuel Sanders on a 1-year contract, I think we're pretty comfortable having Gabe Davis. Obviously, you always want to retool, but I mean, what a solid game between these two young players.
Yeah, Gabe Davis definitely had an incredible effort in relief for, like Jeremy was saying, they had really taken Stephon Diggs completely out of this game. 2 receptions, 3 targets, 7 yards. That's all Stephon Diggs had for today, and I believe one of those was on the first series as well. So, Josh Allen, he had to look other routes, and he found Gabe Davis, and Gabe Davis really showed up today. Is there some things to say here or there as to whether he's ready to step into that wide receiver 2 role, that's Emmanuel Sanders' role next year? I mean, that's up to debate. That's a conversation I would be willing to have. I think the Bills are definitely going to make a move at receiver this offseason, whether that's sign and draft one or one or the other. I think you're definitely going to be adding a couple bodies to that receiver room, but Gabe Davis certainly proved himself tonight. Jeremy, what were your thoughts on the performance from the Bills receiver?
Gabe fell in the draft because he was in an extremely talented wide receiver draft. In any other draft, Gabe Davis may have been a late first-round pick or probably mid-second-round pick. He has immense talent, but we've wondered about his big game ability, and we've seen him make big plays in his first 2 seasons. But then we also seen a lot of lapses. I think what we wanted to see was consistency. Now tonight could be Gabe Davis's coming out party. It could be a fluke as well. I'm not going to dispel that. So if you want me to say Gabe Davis is definitively our number 2 receiver next year, I tell you probably by default. Am I comfortable with that? I'm not going to say I definitely am. I think he's a solid receiver, but I don't know if he can be Stephon Diggs' Robin to his Batman. I also like the differ too is it's not easy for him to do what he did tonight. It's never easy to put 200 yards in an NFL game or 4 touchdowns. But reality is they bracketed Stephon Diggs. They put Lenarius Sneed on Cole Beasley. They were obviously watching Dawson Knox this time around after Dawson Knox killed them in the first game. But we'll see what happens. I still think that reality, we're going to have to do something with the receiver room because I don't think that Isaiah McKenzie is going to be back. I do not think Cole Beasley is going to be back, and I do not think Emmanuel Sanders is going to be back. So, like I said, I would love to say, yes, he'll be our number 2, but I need to see a little bit more. I need to see more. And another thing is that's part of the coaching. I think that goes back to me not definitively be able to say that, goes back to the coaching staff. Because there was times in this offense this year that we took Gabe Davis out of the offense, just like we did on the defensive side with Epinesa and Basham. So this is why we're all wondering as fans and analysts going into next season, are these guys it? Well, we don't know. And partially that is due because we didn't see enough play from them. And that boils down to, once again, coaching and reps. So end of the day, historic performance of Gabe Davis. Hats off to him. He came up big. He came to play, put his big boy pants on, and he did what he had to do. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's as much of a shoe-in as a lot of Bills Mafia thinks it is. I really don't. And if it were, I'd really be concerned. I think this offense performs much better with a guy who has more versatility to run inside and outside, and by that I mean the positioning of the offense. Guys that are capable of running in the slot and on the outside. Gabe Davis, can he do that? Yeah, but does he have the foot quickness or the route running ability like a Emmanuel Sanders or like a Cole Beasley almost? No, not necessarily in the short area, but that route he put on the DB tonight, that was filthy. Yeah. I loved that. I
thought he pushed him at first.
I really don't want to sit here. Yeah, I really don't want to sit here and criticize Gabe Davis, but time will tell, and we will see what the Bills will do with the wide receiver room going forward. There's a lot of moving pieces. Isaiah McKenzie has an expiring contract. Cole Beasley, you saved $7 million by cutting him. There's going to be some moves down the line, and those are conversations for different days. I overall for this offense, How did we feel Brian Dable did tonight coordinating? And this is a question to the chat as well. Everybody watching, everybody give your weekly Brian Dable approval grading, grade him from F to A, and tell us how you feel that he coordinated this offense tonight. Travis, I'm starting with you. How do you feel that Brian Dable did tonight coordinating this offense against the Chiefs?
I don't think the first half was good enough. I mean, there's a lot of running, and I'm not going to be one to harp on running the ball too much, but this is, I mean, you're asking for a matchup between two of the best quarterbacks in the league, and there was a couple 3-and-outs where it just seemed like we were just trying to finesse our way to get that first down, and then when we needed to not be conservative in respects to play calling, I mean, it really opened up, and it could lead you to speculate, if we did this earlier, would you be talking about a different game? But I thought the second half, I mean, it's hard to say because the execution was great in the second half. Outside that first 3-and-out, they were fantastic. And I don't know if it's Dable just trying to really outthink, if he's outthinking himself or what. But it's just very odd where it's like you go week to week, and you get a week like last week where it just seemed like everything was working and everything was perfectly planned out and called, and then you get this week where it almost seems like we were in this game despite the play calling. So it's going to be interesting to see if he returns. It's going to be interesting to see if he gets a head coaching job. But either way, I think we'll be all right. I didn't think he did a bad job. I guess if I had to go with a grade, I'll go with a B-.
Yeah, it's so difficult with these grades, especially with games such as today. But I don't know. I'm almost at a loss for words for Brian Dable. This might be the last time I have to talk about him, so I might enjoy this a little more. So, Jeremy, what were your thoughts on the Bills' offensive coordinator today and how he did?
I thought this was one of his better games that he's coached here in Buffalo. I thought he had a throwback third quarter, if you want to say that. But I thought his first quarter was great. Obviously, we know the fourth quarter was great. I thought a lot of the fourth quarter was Josh Allen making things happen, being Josh. But he did what he did. He put the ball in his quarterback's hand at the end. We did fail to establish the run again. We ran it. We kind of went away from it. But it was a shootout, so I can't harp on that too much. We didn't get Isaiah McKenzie involved at all in the offense today too much. It didn't feel like. Instead, we went away from him in the second half, or after the first half, we didn't go back to him or incorporate him back into the offense. But he found ways to get Gabe Davis the football, with Stephon Diggs being taken away out of the game and Dawson Knox being taken out of the game. So I got to give him a B+, A-. I'm gonna give him A-. I'm gonna give him A-. I do think that these last two games that the Bills had on offense, the 47 points, 36 points tonight, has all but guaranteed Brian Dable a head coaching position in the NFL, in this NFL coaching carousel in the next week or two here. Whether it's Miami or whether it's the Giants, I do feel like he's got him a job, because anybody watches these games, and believe me, NFL execs are watching this game, because the ones who are watching who's going to hire him, they're not here playing right now, so they have a reason to watch. He did a hell of a job on his last two games out of here, and hats off to him. And I'm gonna give A- to this game, and hats off to him. I think he's gone.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm going to stick with a B+ for Brian Dable this week. Just some of those slumps. I like how you said throwback third quarter, because, I'm not sure if all Bills Mafia remembers is when the Bills could not score in the third quarter, like just about all season. Those are some of the rough stretches Bills Mafia has had with Brian Dable. And, he's done things with this offense. The matter of fact is you can't talk about Josh Allen without talking about Brian Dable. And, as a guy who's from Buffalo, he's from Rochester, he's from this area, it's something cool for I can't imagine how it is for him, being a guy who grew up around here, probably grew up a Bills fan, coaching this team and being able to coordinate with a quarterback such as Josh Allen. He's really done a good job here in Buffalo. And I agree. I don't think we're going to see Brian Dable in coaching for the Bills again. I think he's off to New York with Joe Schoen. And, the best of luck to him. I thought he did a good job tonight. I thought this offense did a good enough job to win. Anytime you have a lead with 13 seconds to go, the offense did their job to win. They didn't get an opportunity in overtime. So if they were to have had an opportunity, maybe it could have been different. Maybe I could say something different with the lack of execution or what have you. But this offense looked solid these last 2 games. And yeah, he's definitely earned himself a ticket into an office as a head coach. In regards to this Bills offense, really, there's question marks heading into the offseason. There's things that we have to talk about here on the Colford Report, content that we have to do, such as, if Brian Dable gets an offensive coordinating job, or excuse me, a head coaching job. Yeah, I know, right? If he does get a head coaching job, what does the future really lie for this Bills offensive staff? A litany of names that could be brought in with Ken Dorsey, or if Ken Dorsey leaves with Leslie Frazier or Brian Dable, there's plenty of things that could happen for this Bills coaching staff. There's plenty of things that are going to happen in the ensuing weeks with this Bills roster. And is there anything on the top of your guys' head that you really want to bring up into the offseason? Make one move that you want done within the next 5 days in regards to somebody you want re-signed. Travis, is there anyone that comes into your mind first?
I mean, I have no idea at this point in time. It was probably, I think, up until Ryan Bates kind of inserted himself in this offensive line. It was clearly guard, and it still may be. But I think depending on what happens with the wide receiver group, your one guy's definitely gone. You might lose 2 guys. I really think they're gonna need, and then Isaiah McKenzie, that may be 3. So I think speed, it's an influx of speed, laterally. We saw what Hill was able to do with this defense. It gets teams playing scared, trying to prevent the big play, and then you just watch them go by you. So I think for me, it would really just be looking to the draft, trying to find some young talented speed guy who can kind of do it all. Just an Isaiah McKenzie, but maybe somebody of a higher talent. Either that or, just obviously solidifying the guard position. I think our tackles are pretty solid for years to come. And then, Mitch Morris, I know I think there's an option to get rid of him or whatnot, but it'll be interesting to see if they extend him, maybe get a little extra cap. But yeah, I mean, the way the offensive line has played the last couple of weeks, it kind of, I don't want to say put it on the back burner, but it's definitely not as far forward in my mind as it was mid-season.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, there's a lot of things this team has coming forward. What's on your mind first and foremost?
I think that I think we have to get some more impact players. I think we have to do a better job of developing that front, that defensive front. As I mentioned earlier, we got to get Ed Oliver a true running mate. We keep rotating guys, and like I said, once again, I don't want to take anything away from Harrison Phillips in the season that he has had. He stepped up big when Charlotte Tulane was missing for the last 2 years on the milk carton. But at the end of the day, he's a rotational player. He's a solid player, but he's not going to make the impact that we need as far as a running mate for Ed Oliver goes. So I think we have to worry about that. I also think we have to worry about what our offense identity is going to be if Brian Dable gets his head coaching job. If we're going to go to a more balanced scheme, as much as I love Motor, and I think Motor's a well of a back, you need to make an impact move. If your friend Joe Schoen is going to go up to New York and he doesn't want to re-sign or sign Saquon Barkley to a 5th-year option, we have the best training staff in the NFL. It's been proven. Our players are healthy. And look at this game. The only person that we had injured going into this game outside of Trey White was Mario Addison. Nobody else was on the injury report. So I'm going to make a call to my old buddy. Here, yeah, you can take Brian Dable. That's fine. Well, if you don't want Saquon, give him here. That's going to change a lot. You got to make some type of impact move like that. Whether it be, if we're not worried about receiver, if you want to make a call to Atlanta Falcons, who are possibly getting rid of Calvin Ridley, you have to put pressure on the Chiefs. The Chiefs made moves last year. They went and got Orlando Brown. They went and got Joe Thuney. They went and drafted Creed Humphrey. They drafted Trey Smith. They made a lot of moves to that front offensive line. And like Travis said, yeah, Ryan Bates inserted himself. He did great. He did good at his time. but that doesn't mean we can't get an upgrade. And I think that's what we've lacked the last couple off seasons of maybe electing not to upgrade because we're kind of okay what we have. Well, we need to get to the point where we don't need that last 13 seconds to win that game. We don't need that last drive to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And don't get me wrong, you can't build a team to just beat the Kansas City Chiefs because, just be honest, the Bengals are coming. I'm pretty sure the Titans will be back around. We don't know what the hell's going to happen in Miami. They may be up, they may be down, and we don't know what Bill Belichick's going to do in England. They may be a better team than they were this year. So we can't just build a team to beat the Chiefs because there's other people coming in the AFC. But you got to find impact players, whether that's the secondary, whether it's the pass rush, whether that's the D tackle spot, the offensive line, another receiver, the running back spot. You got to find impact. So I think we need to do that, free up some cap space, restructure some deals, get rid of some contracts that are poor, and honestly, stop keeping people past the time we need to keep them for comfort. In life, the best thing in life, period, anything we do is sometimes to be uncomfortable. Well, this loss is going to be uncomfortable for the next 5 months, just like last year's loss was. Let's make some changes.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy took the words out of my mouth with the Saquon Barkley move, but the one move that I would really like for an impact player for this offense is if they were to inquire for Odell Beckham Jr. I think he's done a great job ever since he's gone to LA. It could be a lot of how they've used him, but I think that he fits this offense perfectly. And, a lot of that is up to what happens in the future with this Bills offense, like Jeremy alluded to, whether they go to a more balanced scheme, whether they dial down the spread, or whether they want to keep going with a similar offense that they've ran the last couple of years. There's going to be a lot to determine. There's going to be a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot to follow. So be sure to stay tuned here in the Cold Front Report. Before we get out of here, Travis, are there any parting words you want to say?
It was a fun season, a lot of up and downs. We got the quarterback, so like Jeremy said, you can't be being okay with the guys that we have has gotten us to an early exit. Let's just be honest. Last year was a little bit more of a storybook season. We made it a little farther. But this year, we had our issues and we didn't look like a complete team until down the stretch. So you see the rich getting richer all the time. I mean, even if it didn't work out, the Le'Veon Bells to Kansas City in those aspects, even Gordon. I mean, you see a lot of teams really with a wealth of riches in those positions to kind of make that push. And we have a window where if we're able to pursue top tier talent, even if it's for a year or two to get you over the hump, I think that's the recipe. You get a playmaker on offense and you get somebody on that defensive front who can either supplement Oliver and let him become great, or get somebody on the edge to really make a difference. But it'll be interesting because I do believe in our front office, and it's going to be a long wait, but like I said, we've been here before, and tomorrow it's not going to be any easier, but it'll get better, Bills Mafia. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. There's plenty to look forward to as long as 17's in the building. Jeremy, any parting words for the Bills Mafia?
Yeah, I'll be back live Tuesday, so this is not goodbye for me or sign off. I'll be here all off season, as well as probably you guys as well. But no, you know what? Let's. This is gonna be a leave a bad taste. Let's be honest. It's gonna leave a bad taste in our mouths for a while. But let's not take away from the resilience that this team showed. Now, personally, I don't think they live up to expectations this season. I thought they faltered, and I think I said that before the season. I thought they would falter a little bit, and that people thought they were going to go 14-3 or 15-2. I didn't see that coming. They're resilient. I think Josh Allen took another step this season. I think that the mentality of this team took another step. And yes, it's going to be another hurtful offseason. But one thing we can be sure of, after the Texans lost, we came back stronger. After the Chiefs lost last year, we came back stronger. So I'm going to assume that this team is going to come back stronger because that's all they've shown. If they haven't shown anything else, the one word is resilient. Let's not take away from the classic and the epic football game we just watched. I know we're Bills fans first, a lot of us, but we're also all football fans. This was a classic, epic game of two young ass quarterbacks who are going to hopefully be in. And I was help with great help on both of them, not just Josh, but Patrick Mahomes too. Be dominating this league for the next 10 years. This is your next Brady Manning. And at some point, let's be honest, Brady got the best of Manning, but there were some times that Manning got Brady too. And guess what? He's wearing a couple rings himself. And that's going to eventually be Josh as well. I got full faith in that. I don't doubt it one bit. I'm not going to sleep well tonight. I may not go to sleep at all. I'm not going to have a good day at work tomorrow. I'm going to be kind of upset and edgy all week, just like the rest of you guys are going to be. But it's all right. We'll be back. But just want to thank everybody for tuning in this season. To everything we've done, to the still growth of Cold Front Report. We had a lot of changes this offseason for our family at CFR. Adding Travis Blakesley to the group, adding some other guys, EJ Daniels, Mud Dog still behind the scenes, Mike back, Anthony Farrell always helping out with his conversation, James Mallory, Mookie Hawkins always helping out. The guys at Legend of Stars for bringing us out and getting us to meet a lot of people. And once again, as I always say, it ended up in rooms that we're not supposed to be in. And we'll be in a lot more rooms that we're not supposed to be in this next coming year, but for the next foreseeable years. So I just want to say thank you guys for following our content and follow us and stay with us all off season, because this year, a lot of times we took breaks. We're going ham this off season. We're going to stay on and we ain't going to stop. So thank you guys for that. That's my final words for the post game show of the season.
No, absolutely, Jeremy. You're more than right about the Bills Mafia. Always staying tuned to the Cold Front Report here on the post game show. You guys have watched every single show, as you always have. Jeremy and I have been doing this for the last 3 years. I joined on a couple of years ago. We just have Travis on here, and we just got EJ, and there's a lot of talented guys at the Cold Front Report, and we're more than excited for what's to come. We're more than excited to bring you guys all the content and news that you guys crave, and you guys eat right up during the off season. It is so much fun producing content for the Bills Mafia, and we wouldn't rather be doing anything else with our spare time. So thank you guys for your faithful eyes, your faithful ears, and your faithful follows. You guys are the best fans in the world, and hey, this is fun. And the Bills will be back, and the post game show will be back, and we will all be back here on the Cold Front Report. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at Cold Front Report _ Bills News, on Twitter at Cold Front Report, and be sure to like our Facebook page and subscribe on YouTube, Cold Front Report. You can follow all these gentlemen. You can find our handles in the description below if you want to find us on Twitter. And with that, hey, it's been a fun season. It's going to be even more fun off season. I want to thank everybody for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.